Welcome to lesson 108, using least common denominator. Now if you're not familiar with what least common denominator is, or even least common multiple, please watch some previous lessons because I might go a little too fast for you in this lesson. Now using least common denominator is very common in adding and subtracting fractions. Now you've done adding and subtracting fractions for a very long time, right? 1/8 plus 1/8 is 2/8, reduced to a fourth, right? You've done that. Now, if you notice, 1/8 and 1/8, the denominators were the same. You are not to add or subtract fractions unless the denominators are the same. The two problems I have on the board are a problem, right? Because the denominators aren't the same. So you can't just add the top and keep the bottom the same, because what would you keep here? The 8 or the 7, right? So your goal in adding or subtracting fractions with unlike denominators is to make those denominators the same. And you could do that by creating equivalent fractions, right? If you had a half and you wanted to change the bottom to a 10, you could just change the half to 5/10. It's the same as a half, right? But you changed the denominator to the number you wanted. So let's start with the subtraction problem up here on the board. I have a 9 and an 18. Now, we want to make those the same, and you could use the least common denominator or least common multiple to find that. Where's the spot, if you were to count by 9s and you were to count by 18s, where they would finally meet? The least common spot, the least spot. The lower, you could go higher, but the lowest one is easiest, right? If you leave the 18 alone, you could just change the 19 in this one. And some of the problems work out like that, and it's very nice, right? Leave that one alone. How many 9s does it take to make 18? 2, right? Therefore, you're going to multiply 2 times the denominator. Whenever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top, right? If you're going to make things equivalent, you have to also multiply the numerator. So 2 times 8 is 16, and 2 times 9 is 18. So let's rewrite our fraction to 16/18. So now I have 16/18 minus 11/18. That leaves me with 5/18, and I'm done, right? Now let's take a look at the other problem I have, the addition one. Now it is 7/8 and 3/7. Now where does an 8 and a 7 meet? If you're to count by 8s, 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64. Does a 7 fit into any of those numbers? It fits into one of them, right? The 56. A 7 can be multiplied until it hits 56, and an 8 can be multiplied until it hits 56. It's a long ways away, but it is their least common multiple. It's the first place they do meet. So what do you do to the 7 to make it a 56? You multiply it by 8, and whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. The 7, or the 8, you have to multiply 7 times. And whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So I'm going to erase all that and rewrite our fractions. This would be 49/56. And this would be 3 times 8, 24/56. Now it looks just like those problems we did so many years ago where the denominators are the same. 49/56 plus 24/56 equals 73/56. Now I know that's very improper, right? So let's fix that. We can't leave our problem like this. So 56 goes into 73 one time. And if you were to subtract these two, you would find out how many is left over. That would be 13, that would be 17, and 56 would stay on the bottom. Now, can that be reduced anymore? 17/56. Well, I know it can't because I use the least common denominator for one thing. And then in addition to that, 17's prime and it doesn't go into 56. So our problem is finished right there. 1 and 17/56. Now I know I went pretty fast, so if you haven't watched those previous lessons on least common multiple or denominators, please do that. And if you still have any more questions, see me and I'd be glad to help. Thanks.